Hello, and welcome to Identity Shift. I'm really glad to have you here with me today for season 2, and today's episode is titled Accepted, because I really believe that acceptance is one of the foundational things for me for sure, and I'm sure I'm not alone in believing that. I truly believe that when you know you're accepted, that it is a foundational launching pad for us moving into growth, into maturity, and into just about anything. If I know I'm in a place of acceptance, then I'm safe to grow, safe to be wrong, safe to make mistakes, and to learn and improve and change without feeling that who I am and my inherent worth is somehow diminished. If we have an inherent feeling or belief that we're not acceptable, it's really, really hard often to move forward with confidence, to embrace relationships, to love others, to receive love, and to launch out into things. And I've certainly been through that journey over the years. I can't say 100% sure that I'm finished that journey, but I hope I'm getting towards the end of it, of just knowing that I am loved and I am accepted and I am good enough the way that I am without changing anything. It's a big thing. So acceptance has kind of two senses to it. One sense of acceptance is approving of something or agreeing with something. Accepting means I say yes. The other element of acceptance is also saying yes, but in a different way, where you're incorporating information or an experience into yourself. You're allowing it in. And acceptance is considered one of the stages of grief. It's actually one of the final stages where you accept the loss of the person and you incorporate it as part of your story, but you're ready to move into the next stage. And so acceptance is a process. It sometimes takes longer than depending on the gravity of the situation, but it can take longer and it can be really quick. But acceptance is definitely a pivotal thing. Let the beloved of the Lord rest secure in him. For he shields him all day long. And the one the Lord loves rests between his shoulders. Deuteronomy 33:12, New International Version. I think the biggest thing for me in feeling accepted was when I went to be with Youth with a Mission in the 90s. And it was this period of time when I have never felt like I did there. It was such a community of love around us. There were 10 of us in a discipleship school for 6 months together. And we sat in the same room every day for the whole morning, learning about God and how he relates to us. We learned so many things, but it wasn't head learning, it was heart learning, and it was hard sometimes. The very first week that we were there, of course, we didn't know each other. And we had a teacher who was talking about God's character. Who is God? And I will talk about this more in another episode, but often God gets a really bad reputation. So we were sitting in a circle and we were talking about God's character. And then the guy who was speaking put a chair in the middle of the circle and said, okay, who's first? And we all know that feeling of just, who's going first? But at the end of that day, almost every single one of us had had a turn in that chair. And we had all had an opportunity to share an area in our lives where we had not believed that God's character was true. And what it really came down to often was that we had not been accepted in our own lives for who we were. And it might have been a teacher who criticized us. It might have been a leader. It might have been a parent. It might have been just life circumstances not going our way. And I certainly think that's universal for everyone, that acceptance was really, really huge. But the point was, at the end of this week, every single one of us had been in the hot seat. We'd all sat in the center of the circle and we were bonded. We had all been through this kind of ringer and we knew each other's stuff by then. It was the first week and we had to open up our hearts and share things. And there was such a love that came out of that, of, wow, you've been through a lot. I'm so proud of you for getting up and sharing that really deep, vulnerable thing. I respect you for being here, knowing what I know about you now. And that acceptance was huge. It was huge. It took me from, I don't trust anybody, to I'm safe. I'm safe to not be okay. I'm safe to screw up. I'm safe to sometimes be a pain in the neck, which we all are. And I'm safe to say I'm sorry to you and for you to forgive me and for us to continue moving on in our relationship. And very, very rarely have I experienced anything like that. The foundation for me is that God accepts me. How did I learn that? Well, I started out feeling rejected. I started out thinking and believing that I was not okay. And it all came to a head. I had a broken relationship, which was very significant at the time for me. This was quite a few years ago. And I decided that I needed to go for some counsel, some wise counsel. So I was meeting with a woman who just right away, she spotted rejection in my life. And she said, you need to do this. You need to read these Bible verses every day, morning and night. It's like medicine. And she prescribed it like medicine. She even wrote it on a piece of paper for me. But I did it. I did it for months. And that was just before I went to YWAM. So by the time I got to YWAM, I was beginning to know that I was accepted. And then I entered into this environment where everything that happened around me told me that I was accepted. It was life-changing. So what about you? Are you in an environment anywhere in your world right now where you feel 100% accepted, or at least 80% accepted? If not, what are you going to do about that? What can you do about that? Just recently, a friend of mine told me that I was too self-sufficient. And I found that really hard because I am single. I'm a single mother, and I can't be sure that other people are going to be available to help me when I need help with things. So I felt a little bit resentful when she said that. But there was an element of truth in it as well. Yes, it's true that if I need something done, I have to get it done. But it's also true that I was keeping people at arm's length to keep myself safe. And I didn't really want to enter into a situation where people were going to give me a bit of advice that I didn't want, or they might say, yes, they do something and then not do it. And I would be disappointed and waiting and wondering, and it's not done. Because those things don't make me feel cared for and loved. And at the base of it, I wanted to feel cared for and loved. So in the last year, I have had the opportunity to risk a little bit in asking for things and asking for help. And sometimes people have not come through. And it's been disappointing. But I realize that I'm learning that ultimately I'm still accepted. And if somebody says they'll do something and they don't do it, then it's not about me being good enough or being rejected by them. It's about me needing to think about what is my responsibility, what's their responsibility, and what should my response be. It's more about setting appropriate boundaries than it is about me and my level of acceptance. Underneath it all, I know God accepts me. And I know that because I have experienced his love firsthand. I have experienced feelings of love. I have experienced evidence of love by his care for me as I've prayed and asked for things that have immediately showed up, as I have read his word in the Bible, and also as I've listened to him and heard him speaking to me. So a couple of the verses that I'm sharing today are very much about how God feels about you. And I don't even know if you can put into words how it feels to know that there's a being like God who loves you. It's kind of almost impossible to imagine. It's not to be thought of, it's to be experienced, it's to be felt. Acceptance is a foundation. So if you've come from a family background which is very, very loving, and you've always had the love and acceptance of your parents, then you know that base of confidence is very strong, but that doesn't mean you're a confident person. So there may still be an area in your life where acceptance has not been present. And if you are in a situation where you have not had that foundation of acceptance, then there might be a lot of gaps in your world where acceptance has been withheld from you. And you may be feeling those gaps all over the place. And it may not be that you need to just go stick putty in the holes in the wall. You might need a whole new wall. But that's okay, because God is up for that. He's committed to that. So I'm not planning to fix things for you. If anything, I'm planning to encourage you. If you know that there's big gaps in acceptance in your life, please don't wait. Please go and reach out to a trusted, preferably Christian counselor who can lead you to the truth. Plan on reading some of the Bible about who God sees you as, and I'll give you a couple of verses in today's episode, but there's so much more. And also plan on asking God to show you directly and experientially that he loves you, because he's up for it, and he will. He'll come to you in dreams. He'll shower you with sunshine. He'll have beautiful flowers come up just when you least expect it. Here's your Bible prescription. First, you need to get a Bible, somewhere quiet, and a little bit of time when you have no distractions, no interruptions. Choose one of the verses from the list. Read each verse slowly. Read them out loud and let the words sink in. Repeat at least twice a day, maybe before bed, maybe when you get up in the morning, and as often as you need. There are no bad side effects, but you will notice you feel more at peace, more calm, more full of hope. I really want to tell you a story, though. I want to tell you a story about acceptance and how it feels. So while I was in Youth with a Mission, this is years ago, but I got into a relationship with a guy, which in itself isn't really against the law or anything, but we weren't supposed to get involved in exclusive relationships with members of the opposite sex. So it wasn't kosher. And the leaders found out because we were seen hanging out together. And as a result, they knew that we had lied and that we had been sneaking around and that we hadn't told them because we wanted to be together. So I was not disciplined exactly, but we were told that we had disobeyed the rules and we were going to be separated, which was fine, but it was hard. I felt ashamed because I knew better and I knew I had done wrong, and I also knew that I had lied, which was something that I don't normally do and I don't feel comfortable doing. So I had made choices which had resulted in this shame that I felt. I did not feel good about myself. And I was at a conference with some other people in my group and was just sitting by myself on the side of the hill thinking about what I'd done and thinking about how I felt about it. And I saw Kevin coming across the field towards me. And Kevin was one of the leaders, and he was younger than me, and I always thought of him as young and kind of sweet, and he didn't really say much, but I didn't think much of him at that point. I just knew who he was. And he was coming across the hill, and I thought he'd just walk past and say hello and not really stop because I didn't expect that, but he didn't. He was actually coming over to see me, and he sat down beside me. And then I thought, oh, is he delivering a message? Is there more to tell me? Have I done something else? But no, he didn't say anything like that either. I don't remember what he said, but I just remember feeling accepted by him. And I remember something in me breaking. I went from being so defensive and ashamed of myself and turned into somebody who was absolutely blown away by how accepted I felt in that moment by him. It's changed my whole way of thinking to this day. And it was the first step actually in what became a very good friendship for years. And then later on, Kevin and I ended up getting married. At the time, like I said, I didn't really know him. but he teased me about that other guy for years. It was kind of an inside joke with us for a long time. But Kevin was so kind, and he demonstrated acceptance to me. And I really, really appreciated that. And I also learned from it that it was something I needed to do. So rather than judging other people, trying to show them acceptance, which could be kindness or it could just be love, without judgment. It's really hard to do. And I'm not really great at it, but I try. So today I just want to encourage you, and I also want to bless you. So for anybody watching right now who's not in a place of acceptance, who knows there's gaps, who doesn't feel that firm undergirding of knowing I'm loved, I'm safe, I'm okay, God is on my side. If you don't have those feelings, then I just pray for you right now that God would come to you in dreams, that he would speak to you, that you would read his Bible, you would read his word in the Bible, that you would hear his voice whispering to you how much he loves you, how precious you are to him, how unbelievably amazing he thinks you are. And if you are in a place of acceptance, I just pray that you would lean into the acceptance of the Father, because it means more than the acceptance of anyone else. I really also just bless you today to accept circumstances that have come to you, not in a sense of fatalism and just surrendering to them and giving up, but in a sense of knowing that God works these things out for good, that he accepts you in the middle of those circumstances, that your life story doesn't define your identity, but that he is going to turn it into an even better story than you could have imagined. And lastly, I bless you to be accepting of others. I bless myself to be accepting of others as well, to look at who they are and not judge, but to trust that who they are is not the end of the story. And what they are doing right in this minute is not necessarily who they always are and who they're always going to be. Thank you for joining me today. It's been a great pleasure having you here, and I look forward to seeing you next time.